There's no point in saying good morning, because it certainly is not one.
Wow. Oh, man. We went from the Dunkin' Donuts guy to that sunshine. Anyway, that might be exactly how Nancy Pelosi feels after this one. Legislation efforts are underway to pass the Pelosi Act. It's aimed to bar members of Congress and their spouses from stock trading while in office and getting filthy rich like she and her husband did. That wouldn't make the former speaker and her husband, Paul, too happy, as you might imagine. They're estimated to have seriously cashed in with their stock deals since she's been in Congress. So much so that there are even social media accounts that try to track their moves. Now, Trump is calling for an investigation into the Pelosi's over insider trading, which means we may soon be able to get a peek inside the Pelosi family earnings sheet. Republican Senator Josh Hawley sided with Democrats to block a review of the anti-stock trading bill. The president's not happy about that, calling him a second-tier senator. Ouch. Hawley's a Democrat. Here's Hawley's response, a Republican. Here's Hawley's response last night on Primetime.
This bill will cover not only her, it will cover her husband. And the point is, we need to make it illegal for people to do this kind of thing. 86% of Americans look at stock trading by members of the Congress and they say, we ought to ban that. They can't believe it's not been banned already. Nobody should be up in Congress making a quick buck day trading when they should be doing the people's business. The president wants a stock trading ban. I want a stock trading ban. It's time to get it done.
I can't believe we don't already have one. Anyway, Nancy Pelosi was asked about this, and President Trump accused her of insider trading on CNN. Safe to say she was less than thrilled.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
But I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this.
Kamala Harris wants her word salad back. Ari?
Well, she's got to defend this. I mean, she's been doing it for decades, so of course
Ouch.
She's not going to be the person who's going to say this is good reform. It's tricky, though. I'm all for banning members of Congress and their spouses and the president and the vice president and cabinet secretaries from engaging in stock trades.
While they're in office.
While they're in office. The tricky part comes, what happens if you own a college savings account for your kid, a 529?
But that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, it depends on how you define what stock trading means, because there are stocks in mutual funds that could be in a 529 or in a 401k, things you don't tap for decades.
Well, can't there be carve-outs?
Legislating here is tricky, but the broad principle is 100% right. Members of Congress should not be able to flip stocks, get inside information, sell equities. If they're going to hold them, make them hold them for 10 years, 15, 20 years, so you can't trade.
Oh, my gosh. I think we agree on something. Like, I looked across the couch and you were nodding at me. Yeah, there can be carve-outs. A 529 is so specific. I know because I have a kid going into college in the fall. It's so specific. You're not going to get rich off a 529. But, yeah, if you want to still contribute, maybe there can be a carve-out in that. But President Trump is right about this, and so is Josh Hawley of Missouri. I mean, you can't be making a buck while you're in office.
Right, but President Trump is in a little bit of a difficult position on this. He came out so hard. I mean, you read the quote about Josh Hawley against Hawley for helping Democrats advance this bill. I mean, Republicans are not supportive of this bill as it stands right now. Donald,
Which you like it, which was my point to begin with.
Exactly. No, of course. I don't know how this already isn't banned. But the headlines this morning are that President Trump criticizes Republican senator because Trump is concerned that presidents and vice presidents aren't exempt from it. Now, this wouldn't take effect till after Trump was out of office, so it would not affect Donald Trump, a point Josh Hawley keeps making over and over again. But it's just the headline doesn't look good. President Trump doesn't like bill because president not exempted.
But it should apply to President Trump and to the vice president and to cabinet secretary.
Of course it should.
And frankly, I'd say White House staff.
Of course,
if you're in a position of power, you should not be in a position to trade on that power and make money.
Totally agree with you, Ari. Absolutely.
And I think that President Trump wanted the review and investigation of Nancy Pelosi, and then Josh Hawley voting in the way that he did prevented that from happening. So that could also be the reason why he's coming out against Josh Hawley. She says, Nancy Pelosi now, that she supports this bill. Of course she does, only after her husband made millions, whether by luck or brilliance in trading or something else, right? So it's easy to say now. The New York Post rightly points out that the onus is on the Pelosis to make sure that everybody knows that nothing nefarious happens.
Do you think they'll do that?
Wait, why is it the onus on Trump?
And
Pelosi's not Democratic leader anymore. Why is the onus on Pelosi?
Here's why the onus is on Nancy Pelosi, because from 2007 to 2020, Paul Pelosi raked in as much as $30.4 million from trades in Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft, even as rumors flew that Nancy Pelosi was slow-walking efforts to regulate these firms. There is an X account and an app dedicated to Paul Pelosi's trades so that people can follow them and make those trades as well.
Mimic them.
So that is probably why the onus would be on.
So I want to be clear on something you said, though, because that was an interesting thing. And, you know, so you stop looking in to what the Pelosi's did with an investigation because Josh Hawley jumps up and says, I'm going to vote with Democrats to get this, to get all of that trading blocked. So it protected her, and that's why President Trump is not too happy about it, because now we'll never really know, and we'll have to depend on the Pelosi's to tell us the truth about whether or not they did anything
of that.
shady.
Do you know how many rich Republicans there are in Congress, too? Like, we're talking about Pelosi. I know why we are, because she's political lightning rod, but, like, there are a lot of very rich Republicans who make a lot of money off of stock trading. I can name a bunch of them. So they should all, none of them should be allowed to do it.
So that's why Josh Hawley is right when he says, I can't believe that this law hasn't already passed.
Correct.
Right. And I think what I see here is that there's an analog to this, what's being proposed for everyone that already works in finances, right? And so the point is not necessarily power or its influence, you could argue, but it's more so it's the information. And so the point is that if there's an analog to this that prevents people who know what's going to happen in the future, they know that on Monday this is going to come out, which will boost stock prices or lower them, so they are prevented from trading. Why then wouldn't there be this analog in place? Because all of these Congress people have that insight. That's the point. Those tracker apps, they outperform the market every time considerably. And when you couple that with the knowledge that Pelosi and her like are sitting and making decisions about regulation and having direct influence on the course of business in these financial companies or companies in general, that's a huge red flag and an obvious opportunity for there to be complete muddied water. So I see that there's an absolute way that you can say, while you're an active congressperson, you don't actively trade. If you're a passive investor in funds, of course, right? And they, believe me, the attorneys can draw up the papers where it protects the family's investments, but pauses the active investment for the time when you're serving. And look, if public service is your thing, then I think you would gladly take that sacrifice, knowing that all you have to do is invest in the Pelosi fund and you'll still outperform the market.
Well, there's a bigger issue here, and we live in an era in which people have lost respect for institutions that are vital to American success and mission: the church, the military, the Supreme Court, Congress. One of the ways to help restore that for Congress is to pass this. People should not suspect members are dealing like this.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
Well, and if the Pelosi's are getting a little, cover by this passing, then let's see a negotiation on that. Then they have to come clean. They do. I mean, that they can't skirt this. I think, based on what you said, they can't just skirt this because
pass the law, make her disclose.
Yeah,
there you go.
Two different tracks.
You did it.
Into them. Yeah, so
all right,
we'll learn more for sure.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.